this.
I'm sorry.
Gaura Purnima. Prabhupada said this so many times. Cleanses the mirror of the mind and the heart. So everybody's seen a mirror. You know, if you got dirt all over the mirror, you can't see your face in the mirror. But when you wash the dirt off the mirror, then you can see your face in the mirror. So this example is used about our inability to see the Lord in the heart. So when I look at you, I see your body. You look at me, you see my body. But who sees the self within this body? This is actually what human life is for, is to see the self. Actually, Prabhupada said in one lecture, he said, the first installment of this chanting Hare Krishna is to see the self. That's the first installment. It's like everybody knows if you owned a house or a car, you're making payments on it, you got the first installment, the second installment, you know, it goes on forever, especially if you own a house. So the first installment, Gaura Purnima, is to cleanse this dirt off of our hearts. So there's 3 stages of chanting Hare Krishna. The first is the offensive stage, the next one is the clearing stage, and the third one is the pure stage, or the offenseless stage. So there's a statement in Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter. The stage of perfection, I always love this verse, the stage of perfection is called trance or samadhi, when one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by the practice of yoga. This is characterized by the ability to see the self by the pure mind, and to rejoice and relish in the self. In such a state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, and one enjoys himself through transcendental senses in such a way. When one is situated in such a state, he is never shaken, even amidst the greatest difficulties. And upon achieving this, he thinks there's no greater gain. This indeed is actual freedom from all material contact. It's a long translation. I think there's like 2 or 3 verses. But anyway, the key points is the purified mind. So the stage of perfection is called samadhi, when one's mind sees the self. Our heart has become so cleansed that we can see ourself. And when we see the self by the pure mind, because all the dirt's washed off, you rejoice and relish in the self, and you're situated in boundless transcendental happiness, and you enjoy yourself through transcendental senses. So who wouldn't want this? I remember when I first read this, I thought, yeah, that's for me. I want this. What's the price? So the price is the chant Hare Krishna mantra. So this is the first stage. This is the first thing. What happens when we chant the holy names of Krishna, our mind gradually becomes purified, and eventually, if following this process right, we'll be able to see ourselves within our heart. And we'll be able to see everybody else as well, and Krishna within our heart. I was reading a couple of weeks ago in Bhagavatam, 4th canto, there's this nice instruction by Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad. Some of you may not know the story, but anyway, Prahlad was a 5-year-old boy. He couldn't get up in his father's lap, so he asked his mother what to do, and his mother said, "Go, the only person who can help you is Narayan, Vishnu, Krishna. And you should find him in the forest." So he took off, left the palace, 5 years old. Long story short, he runs to Narada Muni, and one of the first of many instructions that Narada gave him was that he quoted this verse. It's a verse in Bhagavatam, where he's saying that when you meet somebody more advanced than you should show respect and serve them. And when you meet somebody less advanced, less fortunate, then you show compassion. And when you find somebody on the same level, you make friends with them. So I'll read the purport, just a short purport. Prabhupada says, generally when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. And when we find someone equal, we become very proud of our activities. These are the causes of all material tribulations. So this is an important structure before we get to this platform of pure mind. And Bhishma gave the same thing on his deathbed when he was lying there with arrows piercing his body. He said the same thing, that people who are more advanced, you show respect, you serve them. People who are less fortunate, you show compassion. And those who are on the same level, you make friends with them. So these are 2 instructions about how to cleanse the mind. It's going to take some time. You know, the offensive stage, we've got 3 stages: the offensive, the clearing, and the pure stage, with no offenses. So it's not like some line of demarcation between these 3. There's all kinds of shades of gray, different areas between these 3 stages of cleansing. So how do we get to this point? The verse that comes to my mind is this verse: Adav Shvara Sarasanga Bhajan Kriya Anartha Vritti Syat. This is a very, very important verse because it gives us the process of how to cleanse the mind. So Adao Shraddha. What does Shraddha mean?
Faith.
Right, so in the beginning you gotta have a little faith. To do anything in the material world you gotta have some faith. It's like when you get on the train to come up here, you have faith that Amtrak's not gonna run off the rails and, cause some damage. Get on a plane, it's the same thing. So in order to advance in spiritual life, it's the same thing. We have to have some faith. So when that faith becomes stronger, then the next thing is Adao Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha. You're going to desire the association of sadhus. So if the faith isn't strong, then that desire is going to be weak. You're going to think it doesn't matter. I can do this business chanting Hare Krishna on my own. And Prabhupada's explained this foolishness. He said that when anyone thinks he can chant Hare Krishna mantra by himself, alone, in his home or wherever, he's living in a great hallucination. So hallucinations, we hear this word when it's associated with drugs, intoxication. People are crazy. So we can't do this alone. So Adao Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, and then when you have a strong desire for associating with devotees, then bhajana kriya. Then we start this process of bhajana. Kriya means activities. We follow the orders of a bona fide spiritual master, and then anartha vritti syat. So there's 4 principles of material betterment in the Vedic culture: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. From dharma, from religious activity, comes economic well-being, and then from economic well-being you get sense gratification, and when you get tired of that finally, after lifetimes, you want liberation. So artha, the second one, artha means economic development. So when you put an A in front of it, it becomes anartha. It becomes unwanted. So all these unwanted things, they go away. These things that increase the dirt in our hearts. We can't see ourselves. We can't see Krishna. We can't see anything. And so this process of chanting Hare Krishna, the holy name, it's meant to cleanse all this dirt from our heart. So that was the first thing. The second thing is the prime benediction for humanity at large. This chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. So some people will think that that if I have a nice spouse, if I have nice money, if I have good health, nice family, nice place to live, then these things are going to help me. So these things won't help us at all. These are called the infallible soldiers that people put all their faith and hope in. You can have an insurance policy, for your car, for your house, and you see this on the news every day. This keeps getting worse and worse. All these calamities are going on in the world. And it's because of sinful activity. Krishna says, if you surrender to me, then I'll protect you. I was just sitting out in my chair out there this morning. I was looking at the house and I was thinking about these. I actually retrofitted this whole house for earthquake, a year or so ago. But the only thing I didn't do was the chimney that comes up from the furnace, and it's like sticks way up there. But then I was thinking, Prabhupada told us a story once about how there was a famine and there was an earthquake 2 different times, like 10 or 15 years apart, 10 years apart. And he went to see after the earthquake how his godfathers fared. And so he went and talked to this one godbrother of his, and the man was afraid to even go home because he thought everything in the village was going to be leveled. His was the only house that was still standing after the earthquake. So I'm thinking, why should I worry about this earthquake business? Krishna says I'll protect you. So I've done my part. It's up to Krishna to do the rest. If he wants to save us, then nobody can harm us. If he wants to ruin us, then nobody can save us. So the prime benediction. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, don't put your faith in all these infallible soldiers. And he actually said in one prayer that the only friend you have in this material world is Caitanya. Other than that, we have no friends. How can your friend save you at the time of death? How can your spouse help you? Your money, your medicine, whatever. None of these things can save us. Only Krishna can save us. So that's the second thing. It's a prime benediction because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. I don't know, maybe some of you saw this, but earlier on this week we had this full moon. I think it was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And everything in here was dark. Those blinds were shut, and I'd get up early in the morning, and it was totally dark in here. And it was so much light coming through from that supermoon, I think you call it. I could see everything in here. So even everything's dark, that the rays from that full moon illuminated the whole temple room. And I could see everything. So this is an analogy that's given about Lord Chaitanya. This Sankirtan movement, this chanting of Hare Krishna mantra, spreads the rays of the benediction moon. So Lord Chaitanya is this benediction moon. He took birth on a full moon night. So with this moon, with the rays, the illumination that comes from this movement, even though we're living in darkness, even though the house was dark, I could still see everything because